could have rushed it though. But two, I don't like seeing, you know, Christmas decorations next to the Halloween candy 2 weeks before Halloween. I don't want to see, like, we do not play Christmas music in this business until December 1st. Absolutely not. No, that's just, yeah, no. Christmas creep is a real thing, and we're not doing anything until after Remembrance Day. Sorry, this is going to be kind of a tasting where we talk a lot of inside shop, but it's been kind of interesting this last little bit. And yeah, there is just a touch of pine. 30 IBUs, I wouldn't believe they could pull this all together, but you know what? It starts out all juicy and friendly, but yeah, right at the tail end, it has that sting in the tail to be like, yep, still an IPA, still got some hops, still got some bitterness, still got some bite. I like that balance. We're paused?
I don't know what the fuck happened. We completely lost internet. We have it back. Oh, fuck's sakes. Should be back.
Are we back? Well, we're not sure what happened there. We lost all internet signal for a minute, but we're back now, so we'll just keep rolling on. Did Aaron start the YouTube feed? God knows he can't keep the Facebook feed running, so let's not pray for miracles here.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
All right. Rather than beat on Aaron for the minute, let's move on here. Next up, we have the Hypha project. This is a collaboration, a relatively new collaboration, only came out in 2021. This is two of the guys from Untapped Beer Imports, as well as one of the brewers from Slow Hand Brewing. Started this off, they all used to homebrew together as a group, and then they came together, all beer industry veterans, to start the Hypha project and begin basically canning some more interesting stuff. They're hoping it's going to be as hypey as Superflux. They are following Superflux's model with everything being allocated, handpicking their stores, not bringing it in big quantities, not even brewing in huge quantities. So this is something that is going to be quite limited, and I really want the beer quality back it up because it's really cool to follow Superflux's business model, but if your beer isn't up to par, you really can't. Now this is, I keep using the term no-coast IPA. This is just like the Cabin and Collective Arts here. This is very much the merger of East Coast and West Coast. Multiple dry hop additions here. They're using Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe. So Citra I can see on both sides. Mosaic tends to be exclusively to East Coast IPAs, whereas Simcoe tends to be very West Coast as a hop. So just like Wavepool and just like the Stratosphere here, they're trying to bridge that gap between the East and the West. Let's see if they succeeded here. All right. I'll call that a success. There's something very candied to this, like candied dry ginger. Ooh, that's very good. Now I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about the Hypha project when I first got the email on it, and then I started seeing it popping up here, there, and everywhere, and I was like, oh yeah, there's still an email sitting in my inbox about that. I should get back to them. So I actually logged in on my phone and got back to them about that, and we got like 3 of the last 4 flats that were left. This is the second IPA from them. They had their Inception IPA, which is what they opened with. New Normal is their second IPA, based out of Vancouver. And you know what? For having one beer from them, not too bad. Not too bad at all. I really like that. And yes, feed is all good now. And I don't think that was Aaron's fault. I think the internet cable may have gotten pulled out of the wall somehow. I'm blaming Sky. It was probably Sky. He's standing right next to that, so it was definitely his fault.
I'll take it this time.
Yeah, apologies about the YouTube feed though, because
that was absolutely you. Yeah.
It's up and ripping now.
All right.
But took the internet falling out for me to notice, so that's not very good.
We all agree Superflux is good. Yes, and we got some more Superflux today. We got some more Galaxy IPA and Color and Shape in this morning, so that's on the shelves again. So yes, well done, Aaron. We at one point had no streams whatsoever.
No streams.
Well done.
We're Full stream.
So,
ahead.
Eric, yes, we will indeed be trademarking, for fuck's sake, Aaron. Craig brings up an interesting point. The hops are kind of muddled. Now, there's always been this thing, at least when I was home brewing, that it was really difficult, and you had to be like a actual brewer or master brewer to really pull together using traditional European hops like Fuggles or Goldings or something like Spalter, and blend that successfully with, when I was homebrewing, kind of the new school hops like Cascade, Centennial, Simcoe. When I was getting out of brewing, it was kind of the first time homebrewers were able to even buy Citra. But doing the two together, you always end up with these very muddled flavors, which is why I think it's going to be a challenge for brewers trying to match, blending traditional West Coast hops like Simcoe with very, very East Coast hops like, say, Mosaic. I don't know about muddled. I do quite like this. I think it's very pretty. Yeah, maybe this one's going to be a little divisive, because I'm actually going to come down the other side from Craig and say, I actually quite like this. No. Peanut aftertaste is kind of neat. Let's... I'm guessing if you're getting peanuts, because there's a little bit of a autolytic character, I'm guessing maybe the cans that we got for our flat were probably one of the last few flats that was canned, and as a result they probably got a little tiny bit more yeast than others, and I'm guessing what you're getting is just the tiniest bit of yeast trube leftovers from the fermentation. I don't think that's deliberate. I think that's just from being pulled from the very, very bottom of the fermenter.
Anniversary followers.
We got anniversary followers?
What the heck does
that
mean?
Means somebody's been watching us for, or been a follower for 12 months.
That rules.
That does rule. That's spectacularly good news.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. That's really kind of you.
Dave, Krista Bateman.
Oh, wow. Wow, we have many anniversary followers.
Hey.
And Craig and Eric are actually top fans +1, whatever the heck that means.
Diamonds.
They've got diamonds. Is there a rank above that? I don't know how any of this works.
Thank you.
So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about how sometimes you just hit on a good idea and you talk it up. So 2 Mondays ago, Devin had the day off. And normally Devin and I work every Monday together. That's just how the schedule's written. We do our own thing. Mondays are just Devin and I, has been for a couple of years now. But Devin took the day off. So me and Mike were in the office and we got an email from somebody and they said, oh, you can do wine event counters. I was like, I could. I quickly looked at Connect. No one was doing one. I did a little bit of looking around. So it didn't seem like there'd ever been one in Alberta before. And I said, okay. Mike, in theory, let's take half an hour here. Are there enough small bottles and small cans on the market that we actually could put together a wine calendar we'd be proud of? And so he and I kind of went through, and we looked at everything that was available, and we were just literally sitting on Liquor Connect going through what was in stock in smaller units. And we kind of ran it through. It was like, okay, let's find 12 things, cost it out, see if it works. And we looked at each other, it's like, it wouldn't make anything, really, but we could do one. Well, how would we put it in a box? So we looked at Uline, and it was like, okay, we could buy this box. It's $13.50 a box. So yes, all of your wine event calendar is going to have a $13.50 brown cardboard box with dividers from Uline. Somebody's getting rich off that, not me. But yes, so no, the wine event calendar we put together in about 60 to 75 minutes. It started out as kind of like a Monday morning around coffee. Wouldn't it be funny if? And now we're going to have them in like a week, which is kind of crazy.
Nice.
More delicate than Power Wheels. I think it certainly has more power for me. I actually went back and forth on these two a couple of times, and I thought the Hypha had more bitterness. Do they actually say IBUs on the can? They do not for me. Also, in their profile that I printed off, it does not mention that they use Columbus, but the can says Columbus. That's interesting. No, I think this definitely has more bitterness than the 88. But it's interesting that we're really split on this, because I do like this, but yeah. You're getting the pine, and then the finish is all East Coast. All right, I'll bite on that. Let's give it a tiny taste more. You're right. You kind of, right as you swallow, you get that hit of pine, and then the finish really is like the bitterness. It doesn't really disappear, but it kind of evaporates a bit, and it finishes about as bitter as the Power Wheels. The Power Wheels doesn't have that bite right at the back of your mouth, but this almost finishes softer. I think these two really could go either way. If you wanted that juicy sweetness to go after, I could absolutely make a case for that. Okay, on we go. Oscillation. And I'm not entirely cheating. I just wanted to have all the hop lists for this, so. And I can't remember all of the different hop strains. Wine blends, sure. Hop strains and mixes, no, not me. Okay, so I'm drinking out of my establishment glass tonight because, as you all know, my favorite brewery can do no wrong in my eyes. Getting together with Superflux, which, my God, I mean, has Superflux made a bad beer yet? Like, I don't think they have. So. Let's get right into this. Hopping on this is Idaho 7 Cryo, Citra, Cashmere, Centennial, and Citra Incognito. Again, I don't know what the incognito means. Maybe it's a technique. Ooh. Sorry, I got pulled into the glass when I took a smell. It smells like a Superflux. And I will say, having had Bright in the Corners, Establishment's IPA game has really been ramping up this last little while. I'd actually say that this is, if I had to guess the brewery, like gun in my head, I'd say Superflux. But I can see some Establishment in it, knowing that they're involved. In the mouth, I would never pick that at 8% alcohol. That drink's like it's 4 or 5, and I could kill a 4-pack of that watching a hockey game and then not remember going to bed very, very easily. That's spectacular for me. Unfortunately, it is now sold out. I hope they make it again. That would be wonderful if they did. It's a sparkle of citrus all over your tongue, long into the finish. That citrus, and even its tropical fruit, is just pervasive, and it stays, and it stays, and it stays. And what are the little tiny mandarin oranges that you get around Christmas? They call them like the little sweet ones or something. Those clementines, maybe? Or persimmons? Yeah, the clementines? Yeah. I think clementine is the dominant flavor I'm getting here, because they're a little tiny bit tarter than a mandarin orange. And I'm getting that like Christmas orange, but the little bit higher acidity, and they really are nailing it for me. Aroma for me leans hard into the pineapple here, although I definitely still get mandarin orange. There's really not much of a pine or spruce component or juniper component to this at all. If there's something vegetal, it's just a light, tiny touch of something almost like onion skin, but it's way down there. And honestly, giving it a good spin, that kind of blows off. And actually, again, you're not supposed to swirl beer because it ruins the carbonation, but I'm going to swirl it anyway. And that's when the pulpy mango starts kind of rising out of the glass, is if you give it a bit of a spin, then you start to get that mango that I can't even get here. Mango like I had in Thailand. It's that very sweet, very dense, very nectarous, almost honeyed sort of fruit rising out of the glass, and I really like that. Yeah, the great shame that we never got total saturation. I did ask. They said they didn't even have a sample can for me. So I've never even had it. It was a huge hit for them. They will definitely be brewing it again. But yeah, it was most definitely one and done. Well, let's see. Natasha actually says she spewed the alcohol word. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit madness. That's absolutely delicious. All right, so shall we talk about what we have coming up next week, Aaron?
Yep.
Yeah, about that time. Okay. Well, next week there is no beer tasting. I am in Pincher Creek for an event, so I will not be back for that. But on November 12th, the Friday night, we do have a Scotch tasting, and we're doing it now. Normally we do 4 bottles to keep the price down. We're doing 6, and I'm charging 40, which is the most I will charge for a whiskey tasting. Not really doing well on this one, but I don't really care. We have, to open us off, the scandalous Ardmore 6-year. I actually got a phone call from the Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission that a whole bunch of complaints had come in that this was supposed to be a 10-year. They were sold a 10-year. I don't actually care. This 6 is freaking delicious, and they can come and get my bottles over my cold, dead body. It's absolutely fantastic. Of the lineup, it was my initial pick as my favorite. Now, this is actually a tasting with a fair bit of peat to it, because we have an Ardmore, we have a Scarabus, which is Kalila, we have a Talisker, so we actually have a lot of peat here. We have Scarabus Isla, we have the Balmenic 14 from Douglas Lang, we have the, I can't read from the back, yes, that is the Milton Duff, which is a very sweet, very chocolatey, kind of caramelly whiskey. I always like Milton Duff when it's done in a sweet style. It tends to have just a tiny whiff of smoke to it, but it plays so well with the sweetness. Then into Talisker, a really fun interpretation of Talisker, just because there aren't very many, because it's a Diageo owned distillery. And then finally onto Glenmoray, doing a 24-year, which is, I think, kind of fun. We don't do whiskey that old very often, and it's an absolutely cracking dram. All this is $40, not all in this time, because I kind of really screwed up the budgeting on it, and I realized after I'd made up the kits and told everyone they were $40 that we were absolutely losing money on it. So they're going to be $40 plus just to cover our asses, really. Now, next week, well, we had something a little different. Next week's going to be fun. Or sorry, week after, November 17th. We'll start out with the first half of the tasting. We have a new ESB, and that's reason on its own to actually do a tasting around it. Second, it's a very, very good, if untraditional ESB. This is called the Regicide of the Star King. It's made by Cannery Brewing. It's got that big ESB firm malty backbone, and then it's got a fresh hop edition, which is kind of playful and pretty and fruity and spicy. It's a very different interpretation of an ESB, but I really, really like it. And when I had it, it immediately reminded me of the tragically, very sadly now outgoing, not gone away forever, but no longer going to be part of Annex's core range, Meats and Bounds, their extra pale ale. This was a beer that we talked about, of course, with the folks at Annex. Talked about the fact that it had been around from the very beginning. Well, unfortunately, old friend, it's the end of that road in their core range. So we're going to taste it as a bit of a way to say goodbye to one of my longtime favorite beers. I like the Meats and Bounds. It will be missed. Now the second half is all dark beer all the time. Snake Lake, of course, has come out with their ice cutter again, as they do every winter. Always a huge, huge hit. That's the Vanilla Latte Stout. And then I wanted something sweet to put up against it. And I kind of thought this was fun. This is the Sweet Potato Porter from Annex. I was gonna call it comfortable perversion, and I realized it was wrong, so I had to turn the can around. It's comfortable deception. This is a sweet potato porter. It is their take on a pumpkin beer, except it contains, of course, no pumpkin. They're using sweet potatoes or yams. Very different. It's got the sweetness, it's got the spice, it's got the roast. I really, really liked it. It was a huge hit at the brewery. It sold out very quickly. But yeah, a little bit of darker sweet stuff, kind of an ESB and a goodbye to an old friend. Gonna be a fun lineup for November 17th. Admittedly, Tyler, I also do like Idle Hands more, but I will miss Meets and Bounds because it was a classic. And yeah, same to Hologram from '88. You know what? Some of these styles, they don't quite sell well enough, and so they go away. It is a sad thing. And yeah, the Scotch is a crazy mix. Never again will we do that for $40 because it's costing us like $41. But we will get through. Okay, well, let's move on. How do you follow the oscillation? I'd be able to point at the can, but I'm currently hiding it from Aaron and Sky, so I can't point at the can.
That's what you were doing.
Yes, it is. So, Stratosphere. Oh, fine, you big crybaby. Have some bloody oscillation. Don't you dare finish it, though.
Okay, we'll go easy.
Stratosphere, West Coast Double IPA. So as they say, they dusted off some old school West Coast hops. Warrior, Columbus, Simcoe, Centennial, all West Coast styles. We've got Collective Arts, who, all the things aside, make some cracking good beer. We've got Cabin, who again, make excellent, excellent beer. We are, of course, finishing with this because I expect it's going to be all big bitterness, all big power. And yet no. They say, just like the Hypha project, they're kind of aiming for this East Coast, West Coast style a little tiny bit. And they're just going for like a bit of a throwback here, which I'm very excited for.
Man, that's a weird beer.
Oh, you're on the Superflux. Awesome. That's a weird beer. I'm like, this is the opposite of a weird beer. It's old-fashioned, but it's not weird. But yeah, that is a very weird beer, but it's a very delicious one.
Yeah, really good.
Now, I will admit, it is not the ethereal quality of the oscillation. No, it's not. But if we had this first, the oscillation wouldn't show. It's a half point higher in alcohol, and it's got a lot more bitterness. This had to be last. It's a bigger beer. And it's lovely. I like Cabin's interpretation of West Coast styles. Like I said in the promo, their Seasons Past West Coast IPA was one of my favorite beers I've had in the last couple of years. This is big, it's chunky, it's solid, it's ridiculously stiff with that really hard hit of bitterness, and I love that about it. This is unapologetic old school IPA, and I love it for it. Please, more of these. I mean, you get that stinky pine resin, you get the hops, you get a little tiny bit of skunk. That's just, I wish there were more IPAs like this. Oh yeah, I did recommend that to Craig the other day when you were in. Yeah, that Appleton's Fine British Ale by Hoyne. If you like ESBs, Mike actually found that one and recommended we bring it in. And it's an absolute cracking ESB. Comes in a 650ml bomber, so virtually none of you will have seen it because nobody buys 650ml bombers anymore, but it's a fantastic beer. I'm really, really pleased with that. I would love to do this as a beer tasting. But the 4-pack costs us somewhere in the range of like 21. There's a new lineup of like Imperial Stouts and Imperial Porters that are all done slightly different from each other. It's like called the Outer Edge of Darkness or something. And we brought in the whole range. We brought in 24 single cans of each. Some are barrel aged, some are coffee. They're all slightly different to each other. And we all have them as single cans in the fridge. Way too much for us to ever do as a beer tasting, but if you wanted to do something at home, that's in our singles fridge right now, and that would be absolutely fantastic. Ooh, Terry says smells like broccoli. Yeah, it does, just a tiny bit, doesn't it? That's interesting. You know, it's nice that Stratosphere is still around. I mean, you know, as much as I could whine about it being, you know, kind of pokey and slow in October, it's kind of nice to have stuff stick around a little tiny bit. Like Stratosphere, if this had come out in July, would have been gone in like 10 days, if not less. Now it's sticking around, it has a chance to evolve in the can, it can change a little bit. I kind of like this stuff sticking around a little longer. Not the Oscillation, that blew out very quickly, but everything else, I kind of like them sticking around a little bit longer, so it's not just, you know, the hype ones. And yeah, Craig, you're not lying. It's a heck of a beer, and it's not even expensive. I think we're selling it for like $6.95 or $7.25 for a tall boy. Like it's a reasonable price for a beer. Well, now I have the incredibly unenviable task of ranking these. I mean, the Oscillation's going 1. It has to. And after that, I mean, they're all so similar. I think I'm going to give it to the Power Wheels here. Purely because they managed to get away with the absolute bare minimum of bitterness. One fewer IBU, one little tiny bit less bitterness, and this beer wouldn't have worked. They shaved the corner of making a beer with so little bitterness that it just has exactly enough to carry off the trick. I think that's spectacular brewing. Now, whether it's my taste necessarily or not, I mean, in a vacuum, I'd probably buy the Stratosphere first. I think the Power Wheels is better brewing. Stratosphere comes in right behind it. I think it was actually Terry's suggestion of broccoli that ended up with this being third. I actually think that slight vegetal note is a little bit of a fault. It's really good. I love it, but it's coming in third. The Hypha project is very, very good. Thoroughly enjoyed. But this is not a lineup you feel bad about coming in last in. Like, what a lineup. So, yeah, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 for me. And it's not a slide on any of them. So which IPA didn't make the cut, who almost made it into the tasting? Well, there's, of course, Annex's very, very good beer that they don't want anywhere on social media, at least not commercially. So if you buy it and want to talk about it on Facebook, Instagram, or do a TikTok video about it or something, you're welcome to. But they have asked all of their corporate partners, all of their buyers, bars, retailers, whatever, we're not supposed to talk about it. So I won't even say the name on camera. But Annex made an absolutely spectacular IPA recently that is on our shelves, and that's as far as I'll go. Past that, we haven't had anything really super new from Cabin lately because we missed out on Total Saturation. Annex does have another really cool pale ale they just released that I haven't tasted yet, which is a shame because it was actually at Annex yesterday. And it's a fundraiser for first responders and medical professionals who are working in first-line positions with the pandemic. We only got 2 flats of that, though, so I couldn't put it in a tasting. And also, I didn't get it in time to actually do this. SYC hasn't had a new seasonal down here for a while. They keep doing them, but they're local delivery only in Edmonton. Blyman has had some cool seasonals lately. They've actually got a brand new can for the Blyman New England Pale, but their only new one is a sour. Actually, a lot of really cool new sours have been coming out. And even though it's winter, we're probably going to do a sour tasting sometime in either later November or early December, just because like there's some cool stuff coming down the pipe, folks. Like stuff that I really shouldn't say yes to in late winter or early winter, but no, I need to bring these in. So Dave and Krista have 1, 3, 4, 2. Terry has 1, 3, 4, 2. Craig has 3, 1, 4, 2. Yeah, Hypha has not been at the top of the rankings. You know, there's nothing wrong with that Hypha. I would drink that. I would buy that 4-pack. I would drink that 4-pack and be completely content with it. That would be if we went back to 2016 when Blyman New England Pale came out, and that came out that year, that would be the best IPA in Alberta sold, full stop. There wouldn't be anything that could compare to it, nothing that could run with it. We're running against 3 powerhouses, and really 5 with the collab with Superflux and Establishment and the collab with Collective Arts and Cabin. We're running with 5 powerhouses, and Hypha is a brand new brewery coming out this year. To be able to show up in this lineup and run with this crowd in your first year of operation, this is no slight on Hypha. That's a hell of a beer. Tyler says, not as strong out of the gate as Superflux for you. Well, that's fair, but Superflux I think was brewing for a year before we got them too. And Eric, I'm not going to say. You'll just have to come in and poke about. I'll tell you in person. I'm just not saying it on camera. All right, if we have no more rankings, no more questions, we got through that at a brisk pace.
Pretty good time.
So yeah, I'll let you folks get back to enjoying your Wednesday night. I will miss you next week on the 10th, and I will be right back with you November 17th for our 2 tastings in 1 of ESBs and also saying goodbye to Meats and Bounds, as well as Sweet Stouts and Porters. Until then, I've been Kyle, this has been Aaron, and Sky behind the cameras. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you November 12th, and then again November 17th. Thank you so much, and good night.